Hello, welcome to Whose Views. This is Headlines. Have you heard? Russell T Davies may be playing around with our favourite character in more ways than one. Joining me tonight on the Whotastic panel to talk about this, we've got Paul and we've got third Dr. Ian. Hello, everyone.
Hello there.
Where to start with this one, gentlemen? And I have to start by actually putting a disclaimer, if you like, out there. I have to tell everybody, in case you do not know, I am terribly uncomfortable with the use of this word. And yes, we are going to have to be using it through the show, but I do not like it at all. I do not appreciate it. And the word is queer. As far as I'm concerned, the word is a homophobic slur, but apparently it's been reclaimed by a minority, not the majority, but a minority. And from what I can tell, it's usually narcissistic young people who happen to be heterosexual. But anyway, here we go. So that's what we're doing. So thank you for watching us. Hello to everybody that's in the chat. If you can, come into the chat and join us. All views are welcome on Whose Views and with Headlines. So we're going to start with this, if we may, guys. This has all come from this, from the Telegraph. New Doctor Who episodes will upset die-hard fans, say Russell T Davies. Now, the first inclination of this, of course, was possibly with the Christmas episode. What do you think?
I think he's like he's trying to set us up a little bit. It's interesting. I said this on the previous show that he's trying to create some buzz, some furore of the show to make it interesting. And as far as I'm concerned, it's not very interesting at all. It's just trying to create a fake interest in the series, I think.
Do you agree with that, Ian?
Yeah, I do, and I think he's using it more to send subtle little messages or nods and winks to his preferred demographic.
His audience.
I'd missed this, and I've got to give credit to Az at heel versus babyface. I saw his video yesterday. And after the snowman head had dropped on his character, I can't call it the Doctor because it's not, but it dropped on on Gatwa, and he came out and was with the policeman and said he'd been snowmanned. Now, I did not know what that meant, but apparently,
I don't know what that is. What does that mean? Can you tell us? Can you be polite about it? Is it something?
No, you can't.
All right, okay.
It's apparently a sexual act in
really?
Yeah, being snowmanned apparently, and there's no way on God's earth that Russell T Davies did not know that, because it's a term used in his community.
Can I say something? That's interesting. He never mentioned that in Doctor Who Unleashed on Christmas Day, did he?
Funny that, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's but he would have known that, and he's put that in for a reason. And he's doing that because it will be like a signpost, a signal to the people who he's writing the program for, which, you know, means the majority of people in this country, it's not written for them. But that's fine, because it'll die. But yeah, that was quite an eye opener.
Shocking.
Again, if you have to watch someone else's video to explain it, it's all going completely over your head. So what's the point? You know, you need to get some of these connections in it, surely.
Well, I wouldn't want to get anything like that at all, because from my point of view, there shouldn't be any sexual content in Doctor Who at all.
No.
And I'm not bothered about what these new upstarts who are coming along say. And we're going to be dealing with this because, you know, the Doctor is supposed to be an asexual character as well. So we're going to be coming into that as well. I want to say hello to the chat as well. Sam is saying, hello, Sam. Nice to see you. Don't understand why he's so proud of upsetting the fans. It seems to be a little bit of a trend, though, Sam, doesn't it, with these show business types? Because they don't agree with us, so they must be educated, they must be brought down, or they must be brought up to our standard. You know, it's a very dictatorial way to look at things, but it's happening across the board. Do you not think? Crimpling to Bloom is here. Ahoy, shipmates. Nice to see you, mate. How are you? Hope you are well. And Garbage is saying, Sam, RTD admitted he does this to create conversation. Well, I think it's the wrong sort of conversation that he's creating. Why do that? And Jack is saying, hiya, Jack. The line has been drawn. The agenda has been made very clear. All us fans can do is step back and watch it all fall apart. Again, Jack. Again, because, you know, it's been falling apart for some time now, hasn't it? And this is just going to be, I think, the last nail in the coffin for this. Do you know what I mean, guys?
I think it is. It's bizarre because looking at this as a fan of old, and when a new era came along, like you had Hartnell turning into Troughton, there was a new change in the series. John Pertwee being exiled to Earth. We're used to change, but not in a way that antagonizes the fan base. I still don't understand that, why they're doing something so drastic and they want to get rid of us and get a minority audience who's not that interested at all. It's just bizarre.
It's totally bizarre. But what they're also doing is they're alienating their public.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hilarious. We were saying just before we came on, Who Viewers, we were laughing at the fact that they are claiming that 10 million people has watched the church on Ruby Road. Ha 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 ha! No, they haven't. Those figures are the British pub. The 10 million British pub. Now, please do me a favour. They're not doing that at all. It's all absolute nonsense. I want at this point, gentlemen, if I may, just show you how hypocrisy works with these people and where it all comes from, if I can, because I found this definition from quite a while ago, actually, from the once fabulous Stonewall, which is a charity here in the United Kingdom which fought for LGBT rights for decades. In my opinion, Stonewall should have folded when they achieved same-sex marriage. But no, they had to find something else to do. And they thought, and they thought, a few of those, and they thought, and they thought, and they thought at 3 o'clock in the morning. And of course, what came up is that they started to actually move after the TQI alleged agenda. So this is their first definition. This is a homophobic insult. Homophobic language also refers to terms of abuse specifically directed at gay people. This includes words such as queer, puff, fag, faggot, dyke, and leather. 96% of pupils say that they hear this kind of words used in school. These abusive terms aren't only used towards gay pupils, but are often directed at pupils who are thought to be gay or in some way different. For instance, sporty girls and academic boys. Right, so we've got that there. Now, those words, for those outside the UK, are words that, as you can see here, were directed at gay people and were deemed homophobic by a lot of people, including myself, back in the day. Now let's look at what's happened today from the same source. Queer. Queer is a term used by those wanting to reject specific labels of romantic orientation, sexual orientation, and or gender identity. It can also be a way of rejecting the perceived norms of the LGBT community, racism, sexism, ableism, etc., etc., etc. Although some LGBT people view the word as a slur, it was reclaimed in the late 80s by the queer community who have embraced it. The late 80s. What utter nonsense. Unfortunately, though, that has taken hold with the minority, and we're seeing it all the way through. And that's why we're actually going to be looking at this now, because the man himself, guys, are you ready for this one? This was a recent article, an interview with Russell Don't Drop the T Tough Davis. And this was, believe it or not, Rolling Stone. Where have they got to? Anyway, Doctor Who showrunner Russell T Davis tells Rolling Stone UK about the show's return. It's always pushing forward, he says. It's always got something to say and has always tried to welcome people in. Yeah? Okay, really?
Okay.
What we've got then, hailing Doctor Who as British television at its best, well, it used to be, Davis went on to explain how it is a modern show that always reflected the changes in society. Jodie Whittaker was the first female Doctor. We all know that, thank you. Many years too late, says Russell, some would say, but my goodness, she arrived in style. If you can tell me where that was, please pop it on a postcard to Who's Views. Now Ncuti Gatwa, says Russell, is the first black Doctor. It's always pushing forward. It's always got something to say and has always tried to welcome people in. From my point of view, whatever I make on television, I try to embrace queerness and queer politics. And that's like breathing to me because that's my world and that's how I live.
I wish he'd try to stop breathing. I mean, if he embraces the Jodie Whittaker shitstorm that was that era, then surely he embraces Joe Martin. So Gatwa is the second black Doctor, surely. Or is it just me?
Yeah.
It's all these tick boxing in that sentence alone. Garbage is saying it's the first yawn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep all the chat coming up with guys. Keep it all coming. Thank you. But it's all the tick boxing in that sentence alone. There, isn't it? You've got first female doctor, the first black doctor, and now we've got all this queer nonsense. Now we've had the definition from Stonewall about queer is, but is it really that? Is it really that? We know we are thinking from articles with Mr. Gatwa as well that that's how he calls what he calls himself, what he is as well. What the hell is it anyway? And the big question in this live stream is for you: is the doctor? Because that's what looks like it's going to happen. You may have seen, everybody, there's a lot of rumors going around about making the doctor. He's not making him gay. It's going to be making him the Q word. Mm. Isn't it, guys? What you've heard about this?
Yeah. Either way, though, why is the doctor gay or queer? Why is he? Why is that important to the story, to the series? Why is that important to understand?
What does it bring?
Can someone explain to me? I don't understand that.
It brings nothing, adds nothing. It's unnecessary. He's never been a macho bloke that goes around shagging left, right, and centre any woman he can get. He's never been that. Even, well, Whittaker, yeah, she did end up with a bed in the TARDIS, didn't she? Because she was knocking off the other one, also it was implied. Until you get to this end of the era, it's never been the part. It's never been relevant. It's never been important. It was never what it was about. And now it's all that it's about. It's got nothing else. It's storytelling's gone out the window. Good characters has gone out the window. If you take all this TQIA, queer, whatever element out of it, there's nothing. He's got absolutely nothing. And he loves offending the fans. But, you go back to 2005, they're the very people that he wanted to get on board to support his project. Now he's got them, used them, built something up. He's just going to take a huge dump on them and do what he wants. But I genuinely don't think it'll last long, and it'll be gone.
Again, for me, it shows the hypocrisy of this. Because you remember back in 2004, I remember on a television show, I think it was one of the news shows or something, because he'd come off the back of certain shows like The Second Coming, and more notably, of course, the show that made him, which was Queer as Folk. We'll talk about that in a second. A reporter of the time said to Russell, "Are you going to make the doctor gay then?" And Russell snapped at him. He said, "Why would I do that? Don't be so bloody stupid. Why would I ever do that? The doctor isn't gay. Why would you do that?" And now we're getting all this years later. And so I was thinking about this and just thinking, I don't know about you, everybody in the chat, but it was a case of really, they got us to watch it. They got us to support it. They got us to tell us how much we enjoyed it. And aren't you wonderful? And thank you very much. And then they've just turned around and stabbed us all in the back here for a minority, because they're saying, or they're dictating, society has changed. It hasn't changed that much. And certainly when you're not listening to your full audience, you've got millions of same-sex attracted people like myself coming around saying, no, actually, queer has not been reclaimed. It's nothing to do with us. And same-sex sexuality, there's nothing queer about that. Thank you very much. How dare you?
No.
Well, the thing about the Doctor Who thing is that gets me is this is the same character. Okay, he changes personality. Allegedly, yeah. He changes personality, or he she's whatever going to be, changes personality. Okay, so why is this important? It's like the thing in Star Beast about the Doctor being a male presenting Time Lord bollocks. It's like, what's going on there? It's like, he's not that kind of character. Don't write him like that. His sexuality is not important whatsoever in any way, shape, or form.
He didn't have a sexuality, Paul, did he? He was an alien.
I don't care if the Doctor's heterosexual, gay, bi, lesbian, whatever. It doesn't matter, because it's not part of the overall interest of the show for me. I want to see adventures and fun and science fiction stories and stuff I enjoyed. I enjoy watching. Not this. It's nothing to do with Doctor Who at all.
Again, it suggests to me, guys, that they are that out of touch with the audience, because I didn't like this when this was shoehorned into 1996. I didn't like that suggestion. And it got a lot of us our backs up there, because no, that's not what the Doctor would do. I remember John Pertwee going off about this one, shortly before he passed, when we were hearing the rumours. Do you remember? He was saying, "That's not the Doctor. That's not the Doctor." Yeah. but it wasn't. And then they come back in 2005, and there's that whole thing going on with Rose. It's as though they're looking at everything, as though they're looking at the public and the potential audience with that hypocritical eye to be able to say, oh, we think to grab you, you need this. You need that element. You need this soap opera element. I don't think they do. I think that the viewing public are more intelligent than that. And I think they would have come to Doctor Who without all that nonsense. But unfortunately, what it's done is it's bred a fandom that expect it and now expect all this other stuff coming in, isn't it?
Well, it just goes to show when you look at the when Capaldi was cast and everyone's up in arms because he was an older man. It's like, for God's sake, he's the Doctor. Let him be the Doctor. It doesn't matter whether he's young, old, whatever. Let him just be the Doctor. Let them be the Doctor.
Exactly. Thanks for joining us, everybody, for watching. It's lovely to see you all. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel because we've got a lot of playlists there for you. We're not always criticizing. We've got lots of love for our favorite show, the proper version of our favorite show, that is. So you can go and have a look at all those and enjoy those for us. Go Vidal, hello to you. In the UK, when did the word, yes, thank you for doing that as well, I appreciate that, become acceptable with many gays and lesbians? Growing up here in the US, the term was insulting and led into fistfights up until recently. It was the same here. Unfortunately, from my point of view, it's actually come from queer as folk itself. Now, for those of you outside the United Kingdom, you won't understand, especially, no offense to our American friends, but it does all stem from America. Everything stems from America and then makes its way over here, always has. But queer as folk is an old British saying. And it's something along the lines, isn't it, guys, of, hey, there's not as queer as folk, which means there's nothing as odd or as weird as people in your community.
Yeah.
And so that's how he got that title back in the late 90s. And he put it in because it was always also the twist on the homophobic slur, as it was still at that time. Now, of course, America got its own version of this, hugely successful and actually superb. The original version was so fleshed out and it was wonderful. But that's where I think it's all come from over in America, where they've seen that television show and they've adopted it, not realizing the history of it, and what it's supposed to be and the tongue-in-cheekness to it. And they've gone with it and associated it with LGBT people and same-sex attracted people. And it just doesn't sit. But now it's being, as I said at the top of the show, apparently it's been appropriated by young heterosexuals who, well, I'll paraphrase this piece of research I've got, actually seeking attention.
Yeah.
There you go, Vidal.
And it gets back to what you were saying about labeling people as well. It's like, what you tried to get away from all that, and now you're making it worse than it was. It's stupid, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And Jack's making an excellent point here. The Q word is used by everyone under the age of 25. There's no going back, unfortunately. It's horrible, isn't it? It's absolutely horrible. What gets me, Jack, is about this is that those of us who remember what it was like to have our heads kicked in while being called this, or have friends who lost their lives over this word, and could have been the last word that a lot of them heard, they don't care. There's no, they're supposed to be the Be Kind Brigade. They don't care at all, do they? They just don't care. Oh, you lot are old. You're what's the phrase that we heard the other day? White pale male. You're just that. How racist was that? You're so hypocritical, you people that go for all this as part of your little cult.
It's that wonderful thing, and I've got the age to say this now, that young people think they invented everything. And we've never done anything at all. We were young once, a long time ago, admittedly, but we were young once. So it's kind of like we have done these things. We know what we can relate to being young. We've not always been old or older.
Well, some of these young people forget that, don't they? And they think that I've said it before on shows. They've created problems in order to solve them.
Yeah.
And the sensible ones happen to be our generation, who went and did it all before. I was on the front lines for years as a LGBT activist. On various, parades or marches or get involved with activities. I was there for years. So all this that's coming in now. And when you've got somebody like RTD who's 60 years old and was there, he should know better, surely. Surely the adult should know better, guys.
Yeah, should know better, definitely. And I think I said this before, he's attaching himself to this in the hope, I think, of remaining relevant.
Yeah.
Because otherwise he is exposed for what he is, which is a 60-year-old white male, and he'll
Yeah.
hate that bit, you know.
And a
But he-
mediocre writer now as well, because from what
Yeah.
I've seen through the Doctor Who episodes we've just been given, he's lost the ability to actually tell a proper story. Nolly was very, very enjoyable, but it didn't grab me in the same way that something like The Second Coming or something did all those years ago.
I thought Nolly was a huge kind of retread of Adventure in Space and Time, but done not so well, you know.
Yeah.
Oh,
that kind
that's interesting.
It's a bit like that's a same kind of vibe to it, but it wasn't quite so well done, I don't think.
Oh, that's very interesting. I hadn't put that again. Yes, that's a good observation.
It's the same kind of style program, sort of docudrama. That's what came across. It's almost like they just stole that from that, don't you think?
Yeah, but then again, The Adventures in Time and Space was stolen from the 50th anniversary docudrama of Corrie, wasn't it?
True. Yeah,
Which was also brilliant. I prefer that to Adventure in Space and Time. But anyway, Cybermat Strikes is here with us as well. Hello to everybody in the chat. You are very, very welcome with all views. All this politics identity stuff is boring. Mainstream audiences are over this stuff being injected. I would think so as well. Stephen Rogerson, hello to you. Can we just have a Doctor who fights aliens through time and space, please? Why does his sexuality matter? I'm totally with you on that, but I always say
Stephen as well, yeah.
asexual. But we do, as fans, that's just what we want. We want him going through time and space, battling
It never mattered, did it? I mean, you go right back to Hartnell and the Aztecs, where he's making cocoa, and it turns out to be a proposal of marriage, and he's horrified because he's just not switched on to any of that. And I remember in '79 with City of Death, just hearing Tom Baker's doctor say, "You're a beautiful woman." I was like, "What?" And he just goes, "Probably. Because he just doesn't. It's not. You go to Kinder, and the Neris Hughes character, can't remember the name, but I think she probably was seen at the time as, you know, having the hots for Davison's doctor, but he just had no. If she did, nobody knew because he was completely gone to it, you know. And but now, right from the very start, you know, with Jackie Tyler trying to, you know, she's doing her hair and she's trying to get her husband's doctor in. Fortunately, it was like, nah, which was amusing at the time, but a signpost of what was to come. I mean, most of Martha Jones was series 3. She was simping after Tennant's doctor, wasn't she? Right to the end, where she did her leaving speech, it was cringy. Because
it was a breath of fresh air when we got Donna, and Donna was just pals. That one, yeah.
The traditional companion. But you're right, Ian, as well. That whole thing. What did they say at the time? Oh, it was the rebound companion, as it were, because the Doctor felt so much. It just doesn't sit with me. He's an alien. He's asexual. Why on earth would he want to go off with humans in that way? He's thousands of years old. He's incredibly superior. Capaldi played it right, you know. They weren't going to have any of the nonsense with Capaldi, thank goodness. But now we're going to get onto the whole thing about Gatwa and what he could be bringing in. Peter Harrington's here. It's the fall of great TV. We're going through the motions today, sadly. Pete, I think what you've said there is spot on, because what it also could explain is why the audience figures for terrestrial television are in the toilet, because they're not providing the public with what they want.
Entertainment.
You know? Entertainment, because it's all the same nonsense. It's reality nonsense, and then there's messaging in practically everything, and it goes against an awful lot of what the majority of British people want to hear. We don't want it thrown down. We get bad enough in the news and in the papers and all this, don't we? You know what I mean?
It was interesting. So sorry.
I was just going to say, if you wanted to be lectured, you'd watch Open University, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Is that still on?
Well, I think so,
Who knows? Stephen is saying here, have you read the supposed leaks for series 14 and 15? Please do tell us if it ties in with the show, and we'll have a look at this. And oh, look who's back. Hello again to Alien Airplanes. It's lovely to see you. Thanks for wondering. Dave Mullen is here, and David is saying, I wonder whether Davis understands what platonic love is. Since 2005-6, he treats love as a literal love, romantic love. There are no shades. Well, he should do. Let's put it this way, David, because he's an alleged fan. He loved the Pertwee era and he loved the Tom Baker era. Now, if you want platonic love, you just go to those masters of the Doctor there, Pertwee and Tom Baker, who had it down pat. There was affection for the companions, especially, let's face it, Joe and Sarah. You know, it was there, but they knew where it stopped because they knew they were playing a bloody alien.
Yeah, they described Pertwee, didn't they? They described, obviously, it's my favourite, you may have guessed, but they described Pertwee as the mother hen. So using that chicken analogy, he was the mother hen, he wasn't the cock, was he?
Yeah.
He was the mother hen that had that overall caring, arms round everybody, and the relationship that he had specifically with Joe Grant was just that. There was never, ever, ever any hint whatsoever. And when she went off to get married, you know, drink,
the flight tear,
and off he goes. And that was just brilliant. And then a totally different relationship with Sarah Jane, which Tom Baker then developed in a different direction and took on, and was again fantastic. None of this. Davis couldn't do that. He does not have the tools to write like that. He just doesn't have the skill.
It says it all. There's a line, I think, in Seeds of Doom where the Doctor introduces Sarah. This is Sarah Jane Smith. She's my best friend. That's all I needed. That was it.
Yeah.
Well, that was it, and it said it all, especially to the young people in the audience. And we've got to remember as well that Doctor Who is a family show in the UK. I can't speak for what it's like outside the UK because I don't live outside the UK. But Doctor Who has always been Disney, a British institution, a family show. It's supposed to be safe for everybody to watch and just get entertainment out. It's not supposed to have any sort of fear for an adult with a young person. So, you know, I remember seeing a show once where parents were interviewed about Doctor Who back in the 70s. It might have been Who's Doctor Who, I don't know, but it was something where the parents were saying, oh, we know we can leave the kids with Doctor Who, and they're not going to come back like they would with a soap opera or a drama and saying, what does that mean, mummy or daddy? And we don't feel uncomfortable having to explain it because we can explain it when we think it's relevant. That's not going to happen now, is it? And Jack's pointing out that whole scene as well. I watched Dumbfounded at the scene. You won't understand as a male presenting Time Lord, as we know everything. If you were still a woman, you'd understand. Rose, to me, was male presenting. Well, this is the whole point. And this is the whole thing about, you know, he's setting us up to expect this. Because yes, we do know some of the things that are coming through in the next series. We know some of the guest casts that are coming through in the next series. But it's very one-sided, isn't it? You will watch this, you will understand this, and you will eventually agree to this. Gore Vidal is saying he's Gen X. Hi, it's true, I'm Gen X, and some of millennials' friends use the term straight or not, and most of the Gen Zs use it. Yeah, it is, because they've been given permission to use it, and now it's being built and built and built and built on, and it's, I don't know. I find it very, very disheartening that they're not listening to other people. One thing I also found disheartening recently was this. Now, this was from The Independent, and Ncuti Gatwa apparently teased the gayest Doctor Who ever. Lots of people will feel seen and represented. Yawn. Gatwa shared about his 15th Doctor's upcoming season. This is what they are obsessed with, guys. They are obsessed with representation. It's a science fiction show. Heaven's sake. What don't you understand?
That's part of the science fiction, isn't it? The proportion of the population that they're writing it for is a lot bigger than it actually is. And maybe they actually believe that. Maybe they believe 20, 30, 40, 50% of the population is like that, rather than one or two.
Is that why it's not for us then? Because we've had 60 years of white males playing the Doctor.
Maybe.
Just about. Yeah, is that why?
Well, that's something they can't handle, though, Paul, isn't it? Because that's the other thing. There were 12 actors there who happen to have pale skin, and they don't like that at all. It doesn't matter that Jodie Whittaker also happened to have pale skin because she was a woman. This is what happens when you get yourself into this mess. Now, when he says that this is going to be the gayest Doctor ever, what exactly is he inferring there? Considering that from what I'm led to believe he says he is, how does he know what that is? So is he saying is it the gay as in the old type of the world? Or is he saying it's going to be camp? What does he mean there?
He doesn't mean happy, does he? Really? Yeah.
No, he doesn't.
No, that's it.
He doesn't mean gay as in happy at all, does he?
Well, but what is this? I mean, there was a hint in that second episode, which I can never remember the title for.
Wild Blue Yonder, yeah.
Wild Blue Yonder. Crappy title. I'm going to say it now because I can't remember. I keep getting it mixed up with Deep Blue Sea. But anyway, there was a hint there, wasn't it, that the Doctor's sexuality has arrived, and it's arrived in a sense where he's attracted to a male form of humanoid or a man in speaking outside the science fiction context. But I don't know how to talk about, because he's an alien. So does he go for a green blobby male or what? It's just, you know, it's there. So that was a hint. Is this what he's getting at? Is this what Russell's getting at? There's this thing in the trailer, isn't it, where the guest star that's in the period piece as well. There seems to be that they've implied in the trailer that there's a bit of a thing going on between the two characters there.
Yeah.
It goes against everything I know the Doctor is. The Doctor is a Time Lord. He's from the planet Gallifrey. He's asexual. Why? Why is it in there? And it's there because, as Ncuti has himself said there, it's all because of representation.
But they did it as well at the end of the Star Beast. They did a similar gag that Ian mentioned about Jackie Tyler trying to flirt with the Doctor. There's a similar gag at the end of the Star Beast when Donna's husband was asked, "Are you worried about me being in the TARDIS with this man?" And he said, "Not with this man," because of implying that he was gay as well. At that point, at the end of the episode, I think could be wrong, but that's what I got from it.
Right. Okay.
But I mean, they've stripped everything away from it, haven't they? Because if you go with the current narrative, he's not a Time Lord. He's not from Gallifrey, and he's the Q word, you know. And that's it's just if they want to do that, fine, bloody go off and do it. But do it with a different program. It's not this.
Yeah.
It's just not this. But it's what he wants to make it, which is a real shame.
But Dweer is saying here, I was always under the impression that the Q word was an insult and have never used it. So for some to take ownership of it deliberately doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, and that's where I come from as a homosexual, as a same-sex attracted man. I do look at that as an insult. There's nothing queer about it. There's nothing odd about being same-sex attracted. And as I say, to see this being appropriated by under 25-year-olds who are just obviously seeking some sort of attention to make themselves look special, bugger off. Bugger off. Live your life.
What I think is quite sad about this really is at Ncuti, whatever his politics are, if you take him out of the
equation... I think you can guess though, can't you?
So, yeah, say that again, sorry.
I think the problem with them all now, Ncuti, is that we know where their politics are. In our day, you didn't know. Yeah. You could guess where Pertwee lay. You could guess where Tom Baker, anybody on the television, you could sort of guess. You might be wrong. The newsreaders, especially, everybody today, you bloody know where they are.
But what I was going to say was, if you take his politics out of the equation and just get him to play it as the Doctor, with all the things around it that Russell's trying to do, he doesn't have a chance in hell of making an impact as the character because he's laboured or lumbered rather with all these trappings which aren't needed at all.
Yeah. Well, again, it goes back to my my suspicion now that he's lost the ability to write and he's desperate now. And because he can't make it in politics now because he's 60 something, you know, and he's known for that. I think he's just using Doctor Who now because he thinks, oh, there's an audience there that needs to be preached to. And we have to, as he's mentioned before, we have to inform the children.
Yeah.
I'm very worried about anybody, Ian, that says things like that. Say again.
It's very insidious, isn't it?
Yeah. You know,
when they target specifically the children so much because they know that they are impressionable, then that's just, you know, it's one step away from something a lot nastier.
Well, it's frightening. David Mullen's saying here, Paul, I think Doctor Who stories are hard to write as they rely on story and a plot. Davis, though, is more of a playwright than a storyteller. I think it's why he can struggle with Doctor Who. When you actually look at some of his original stuff, though, Paul, as well from his first run, a lot of it is now dated. And all his stuff seems to date. You know, I think I've mentioned somewhere before that in 2020, I tried to watch the original Queer as Folk from the UK. I tried to watch The Second Coming. I couldn't because it was set in its time. Yeah. You know, even Bob and Rose. I could watch that. I could get that, but it was set at its time. You go back now and you look at some of those early Doctor Who's. It's set in its time. It's dated so much, you know.
But it's because, like I said, it was made. The time it was made reflects how it was made. Likewise, with all the cultural references to Davina McCall, Big Brother, blah, 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 Trinny and Susanna, all that kind of stuff has made it very dated in that respect as well, which is such a shame. If you go back to other classic Doctor Who, even though they were made in the 70s and 80s, they were very much just slightly ahead of time, if that made sense, and it made it more accessible, I think, you know?
Yeah, the Doctor, says Jack, was always surrounded by beautiful assistants and companions, but he'd be more interested in exploring a dangerous planet or tinkering with some scientific equipment. Totally. Also, on building on that, Jack's just reminded me of a point I wanted to make in this show. They all talk now about representation and how it's important to have the Q word people in this, to have LGBTQI, BBC, ITV, Channel 4, whatever bloody acronym we're on today with it, to have people in wheelchair, all this, everybody's supposed to be in it, right? Everybody's supposed to be in it. From my point of view, as Jack was sort of reminding me there, original Doctor Who was accessible to anybody because it was just about the adventure, it was about the story. And from an LGB point of view, from a gay man's point of view, I read somewhere recently from one of these new marks that have come into it, we're trying to attract more from the LGBTQI. Bloody bugger off. Doctor Who was full of screaming queens, left, right, and centre, all the way through. I mean, I've met so many of my friends in the 80s and 90s who were all homosexual. We thrived on that. Look at who was in charge. RTD, Phil Collinson, Gary Russell, all these people here, they were all there. They were all around. They were all right. Gareth Roberts, all these people. There were so many people from the LGBT community as it was and still is with this show. We've always been there. So why are they now saying, or why are they now implying we haven't been? Because we have. How ignorant are they, for heaven's sake? I don't understand it.
And in the 80s, it was under the stewardship of just about the campest man ever, wasn't it? Let's be right. And yet he never, ever stepped over the line.
No, he didn't. John Nathan Turner understood the fact that he was there to do a job. He was there to represent the BBC. There were certain things we didn't do. And certainly he knew it was a science fiction show. Had he gone on to do something else, which was a hard-hitting drama all about that, it would have been hard-hitting. He would have said, well, actually, in my experience, we've got all this to go in here as well. But, it wasn't ever in Doctor Who. It wasn't ever there. And it's amazing how they can actually rewrite certain things, isn't it? Because, thanks, Glenn, for that comment. Remember the Doctor lies. There's no way they should be retiring the Doctor. But survival, the big thing over the last few years, they've rewritten survival so that Ace was attracted to the cat, the cheetah person, whatever his name was. Can't remember her name now.
Gara.
Yeah. Russell T. Davis in 2020 wrote that whole thing about, which I hate it, and I won't acknowledge it, about Sarah passing. And there's Nissa and Tegan together. Nissa's probably dead on a leper colony far in the future, you idiot. What are you talking about? Why? Why are you doing it? I just don't understand it. What's its place? Please, let's. I just don't get it. Tell me, why is that important? Because we've always been there. Doctor Who has had gay fans from day one. For heaven's sake, grow up.
It's been made by gay people from day one, literally.
Warren,
not only was he gay, he was Asian, and he was the first director. And Verity Lambert, a 26-year-old Jewish woman, I mean, they're oppressed minorities right from the very start, and it's always been there with no problem whatsoever.
But the fandom was huge. The fandom was huge. I mean, as I say, you would go to conventions and practically everybody was gay there. If you spotted the straight guy, it was a token straight person. Do you know what I mean? Oh, welcome. It was like a bloody gay club. Do you know what I mean?
Well, the straight guy and the occasional woman. That was how it worked.
Well, yeah, and it seems that they have just. It's as though this generation have just come along now, and they've decided that they've just invented all this, or the show's just been discovered by it. No, it hasn't. And if you don't understand that, you're an idiot, quite frankly, because we've always been there. And there were some fantastic disco nights around conventions and stuff like that, where we were all like dancing to Bananarama and the latest Kylie. It was fabulous, absolutely brilliant. So I just don't understand what is going on and why this representation is being rushed into this now when the fan base was already there. Do you see what I'm getting at, guys?
Yeah. And it's meant to be a family show accessible to all. So why can't we all be part of it? Yeah.
Well, it's supposed to be a family show, but again,
it's not anymore. It's not
anymore. No.
Well, it's not. It's not, no, because it is now for a minority. But even if I was a parent now, I would probably watch something like this first to see if I wanted my child in front of it. For the simple reason is, you know, would I want to explain certain things? So look at the complaints the BBC have had over the Star Beast. Now people are coming out saying, "Oh, it was only 144," and they're dismissing it. No, it's 144 license fee payers. You do not dismiss 100. You don't ridicule them. You address it because they're paying for you.
It was more than that anyway.
Well, you could say, actually, as I said on our last show, Ian, you could actually say that instead of complaining about it now, they just switched it off because the viewing figure went down the week after.
Yeah.
You know, and it was ridiculed, wasn't it? Jack is back with us here saying, did you see that post from the official Doctor Who Twitter account posting the long hot summer with Houdini thing? Yeah. Discussing, as we were all the fan comments that followed, they know what they're doing. I agree. Their social media is very, very dodgy at times. Very, very dodgy. And again, it's something I would, if I had children, I'd be looking at to say, right, I will check this platform out before you get onto it, kid, you know.
Well, if they're offering a trigger warning for the BFI for James Bond movies, early James Bond, they need a trigger warning for Doctor Who now, surely.
Yeah.
That should
I think it might come to that, actually, mightn't it? It really, it might actually come to that. But it's bizarre because I don't think the show has a future if it carries on with this. Because at some point Disney might turn around and say, this isn't making us any richer. And they could drop it like that. Surely there must be some sort of business contract. But if they're going to go out now and start saying to everybody, right, we're going to have a keyword doctor, what is that exactly? Why? And what is that exactly? I really don't understand. What is it supposed to do apart from get a minority of young people going, ooh, I might watch it then?
I mean, the thing with Disney is like most of the big production companies is that a lot of the films that are coming out now were commissioned and produced from about 4 years ago. So, you know, when all this was really in vogue and they've made all these films that are coming out now when the wider population has really turned against woke, which is fantastic because it needed to happen. And they're seeing their revenues go down because 4 years ago when they said, let's make this fantastic woke fest bollocks film, it's come out now 4 years later.
I've seen that. It's very good.
And wait for the sequel and nobody wants it. And they're losing a shit ton of money. Now, Disney, I've heard before that Disney isn't financially doing that well. It's not beyond the bounds of possibility. You know, you go back 15, 20 years, one of the biggest companies was Yahoo. Where are they? You know,
good point.
Big companies go bust. Big companies and organizations disappear, or they have to trim down quite a lot. And you know, they could ditch Doctor Who quite easily if they see that it's damaging their brand or not bringing them anything.
And tying in with that, Ian, as well, BBC Studios and the BBC will always have the final say. It's still their product. It's just released out, if you like, to a production company in Bad Wolf and also the distribution side partnership with Disney. They will always have their finger on the big business. They're never, ever going to let that go because they know they've got something there. They just don't know what it is. And unfortunately, in this reiteration, I don't think they're going to learn through this one either.
I don't think they are. I think the thing is as well, the Disney's interference in it is much larger than we all anticipated.
I think so. Yeah.
So they're doing much more to manipulate what's going on with reshoots, etc., etc. I think that's why they've possibly done almost 2 seasons back to back to see how this will work in this phase, and this might be it. You know, I don't know if it goes down the toilet. Then I don't think Shooty might not get a third series. They might get 2, and that's it done. Yeah,
well, I stated because somebody mentioned that the rumours that have gone over the last couple of days as well. Yeah, the rumours are, of course, that Gatwa and Gibson are stepping down. Not necessarily. They are in the middle of filming their second series, which will be shown in 2025 next year. It gives them time off to go and do something else, go and get auditions for other stuff and have a year doing other things, which also leaves it open for this filming of this so-called spin-off series that's coming. We're not going to talk about that yet on this show because it hasn't been officially announced. But by God, as soon as it's officially announced, make sure you've subscribed to the channel because we will be talking about that.
And
Oh well, but that's just production for you as well. So it gives it's giving work to everybody behind the scenes, and good luck to them. And because they seem to be doing a fantastic job out from what I've seen in the 4 episodes that they've presented, they seem to be doing okay. So anyway, they'll get doing that, and then Doctor Who should recommence filming late 2024, probably into 2025, I would assume, and that's when Gatwa and Gibson will be approached again. So it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that they've stepped down after series 2. It doesn't. If they do, they do. But it doesn't mean that they have now.
What I meant was if it bombs, they've got that hiatus in between to say, well, that's it. We're going to leave that. Or we'll recast it, you know, or we'll bring David Tennant back for a series. So he's waiting to do that, you know, or whatever's going to happen, you know. So
the way it looks at the moment is that the Whoniverse is going to fail, isn't it? Because not one of us is really interested. There's a minority that are interested. The rest of us are not excited at all. Alien Airplanes is saying here, I think it would be interesting to see a story involving the Doctor's actual wife. Like he must have had a spouse or a fiance to become a grandfather. Now, the problem with that is, the show's Doctor Who. We should never know about his background, and that's where Chibnall screwed up big time. Absolute ridiculous. And also, well, he's not really a grandfather anymore either, is he? I'm sure Susan would be very confused if she met his grandmother.
Well, you saw her reaction to the 5th Doctor and the 5 Doctors. Let's not go there.
Well, you know, that's one of the reasons I got shot down in flames when they announced Whittaker was the Doctor back in the day. I said, no, this goes against the background of the character. We had somebody actually in one of our shows, on one of our comments, and I can't remember who it was, but somebody was obviously visiting and won't be back. But that person said something along the lines of, there was nothing in the original series, or there was nothing in the series rather, to say that he was a male. There was plenty in the original series to say he was a male, from grandfather to, as a boy, I always wanted to drive one. You know, there was plenty. There was absolutely plenty to suggest that he was a male. Also in City of Death, which Paul mentioned earlier, Time Lords, Time Ladies, Time Tots.
Yeah.
There were plenty to show that there's some sort of reproductive system going on there. So Yabu, sucks to you. Let's have a look and see what's going on in the chat here. Again, a lively chat, everybody. Thank you so much.
Like and subscribe.
Say that again.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. It's great to see you. All views welcome here. We try and keep everything polite. But yes, all views welcome. Crimpoline Davoon is saying, when interviewed by 2 boys for News Round. Oh, I'm so pleased that News Round is still going. I think it's probably all woke as hell now, actually, though. RTD referred to how there's a Doctor for everyone to be revealed in Special 2. Surely if the Doctor is neither straight nor gay, he represents it. That was the beauty, wasn't it, Crimpoline Davoon? Yeah. And this is why the original 63 to 89 run is popular with people going into it now, because it tells a story. There's good, solid acting. There's a character, a lead character, the Doctor, and although he changes his face 6 times and there's 7 of him, it's the same character. And that consistency runs through because he is for everybody, because it's never shown he's in this box. He's not straight. He's not homosexual. He's nothing else. He's a Time Lord. He's an alien. And that's what fascinates us as the viewers, because his reactions in each incarnation is different. They've lost that in this version of Doctor Who because they keep making him bloody human.
Yeah.
You know, it's shocking. You know, who do you think will be the big bad villain of the finale this year? Don't really care, Glenn. Gotta say, don't care. It's probably going to be Jinx Monsoon. Don't give a care. No, don't care. What else we got here? And Gary Bryant, Gary, the God Cartmel style Doctor was saying that the Doctor was a higher being, not obsessed with sex. He wasn't. Well, yes, you know, but sometimes I think because of their experience in the 90s with the New Adventures for T. Davis, Moffat, Chibnall, they carried that going, because a lot of what they produced is just very poor fan fiction. What do you think about that in the chat?
It's a shame in terms of the villain at the end of the series. Could they bring Michael Grade back? That'd be lovely. And we
need somebody like Michael Grade now to say. Well, we nearly got it though, guys, didn't we? When they were going to finish it in the Whittaker era because it wasn't performing so well. Yeah. And then they thought, oh, Russell's interested. Oh, and Catherine Tate. Oh, but they didn't realize he was going to hand them a pile of extreme left-wing propaganda, was he?
I think that's why Chibnall wrote the Timeless Children, because he knew it was coming to an end. That was the way to tie it up, which is very short-sighted. Just end it, leave it on a cliffhanger. Let's go. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cybermatch Strikes is saying, as a straight man going to Doctor Who conventions, it was always full of gay fans. I was the odd man out. Oh, bless you. I always thought Doctor Who fans were diverse, talk about a solution to a non-problem. Totally. That's exactly it. Because these kids were never there. And as I say, when you look at society, a lot of the stuff we're talking about now has been created by them because they needed something. Sometimes I think my generation, especially our generation, was very, very successful because we banned the bomb. We freed Mandela. You know, we achieved same-sex rights. We achieved, including marriage. We women's rights were okay to a point.
Yeah,
they were getting better and better, and now they've gone right back down the toilet. You know, but you know,
let's not get started on toilets, JT.
Yeah. Well, lots of gay fans, says Gary, loved the show because it was a total escape from everyday life. Spot on, and also because you could sort of identify with the Doctor because he was quite aloof. He was not with anybody, as it were. You know, especially Tom, who my generation of gay men would have grown up with. Tom was always had this very pretty young lady with him, as most of us did during our time. We still do. We have very pretty young women hanging around us most of the time, but we're not interested in them at all. So it was that sort of stuff. Garbage is saying, JT, none of us get it. It's like every superhero franchise in every comic. All male superheroes is now called as gay. It's not needed. As for Nyssa and Tegan, it was unbelievable in the Sarah Jane send-off. But they loved it and they lapped it up. A minority lapped it up, didn't they?
Well,
yes.
They would. They're bound to, aren't they? Because it speaks to them, and it only speaks to them. It's like they're being read a little bedtime story to make them feel warm and cuddly.
Yeah.
But it doesn't alter the fact that it's absolute horseshit at the end of the day. It really is.
Have they rewritten Mel a bit as well? Because I wasn't aware of what came out in the giggle about Mel. Was she an orphan? Is that nonsense?
No. She wasn't. I think she did mention that her parents had died.
Yeah.
While she was away.
Right.
You know, I think that's how I got it. The people in the chat will correct us if we're wrong, but I'm sure there was that point there that when she got back to her whole family had gone. So she was an orphan now in that sense of the word.
Right, okay.
Yeah. That's actually something that's quite heartbreaking, really, when you think about it. Now, that's an interesting character trait more than being a trans person isn't it? To be able to say, well, actually, she went off, lived her life for goodness knows how many years in space, then eventually came back and her entire existence is gone. The earth has changed. Her entire family has gone. She's alone. You know, that's quite an interesting story. But, oh, no, let's not follow that one up because we've got this pronoun stuff to get in instead. Oh, what a nonsense. Something else.
Pottage was probably flattened for HS2 anyway.
Yeah, used to be when you lived in London in the old days, and you had to, I don't know if it's still like that now, you had to pass Pease Pottage on the motorway to get to Brighton. And I used to always think of Mel and Bonnie.
I remember hearing J&T in an interview that some BBC photographer went to take a photograph of Bonnie at Pease Pottage. It was just a sign. That's all it was.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. Now, what's this saying? We're saying here. Peter's saying here. RTD is now on the second series filming wise. They really won't know till the first series viewing figures have ended to judge the feedback. But will they change? No, they won't, and they can't, Pete, because as you say, the second series is almost completed. So when the first series bombs, as I predict that it'll bomb.
Yeah.
It'll bomb again in 2025 when they put the next one on. And the spin-off will also bomb because, guess what? There's no audience because you've alienated everybody. And we as fans will only watch it to criticize it.
And Disney can only reshoot so much of the material to make it work.
You can't keep just trying to accountancy and surely remounting things and refilming things, surely.
What happens
it's too expensive.
if Series 1 does bomb as it
we predict. We are predicting on whose views it'll bomb.
And then Disney say, well, for Series 2, which you've already filmed, you have to do X number of reshoots, which could be extensive across, 8 episodes and maybe special, God knows. But what if, because this is in the time off filming thing, they're both off doing other things?
Yes.
Yeah.
Then how are they going to do it? They might not be able to do it at all, in which case, whole series have been canned before for other programs, haven't they?
As you were saying, we're kind of behind the curve here in the UK. And JT, you said it a few times that everything comes potentially from the States and we're behind the curve a little bit. And if things are turning around the world and we're going back to people being a bit more sensible, potentially, it's just a bit too late for it to happen with Doctor Who, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it also shows that they are, as I said this before the show came back here on the channel, they are extremely confident in what they've got. Very confident, because they're quite happy to release Gatwa and Gibson, their 2 stars. They're quite happy to release them for what, because effectively a year off to go and do other stuff. And nobody's blaming them for going off and doing other stuff. I know we all know Gatwa wants to go back to theatre. Allegedly, Gibson is going to be looking at America to try and break America now, coming off the back of Doctor Who. Good luck with that one, because it's not doing very well over there, I can assure you. So, you know, they're very confident with what they've got in the can. So you're right, yeah, if they have to do any refilm, it's going to cost them a fortune to bring these 2 back if it involves them. You know, if it involves, but it's still quite a lot of money, as we were saying, to remount stuff and go back to where you were months ago if it's an exterior shot. They are very confident, and I think overtly so. I think from how they've presented themselves before the 60th anniversary, well, not before the specials. It wasn't anything to do with the 60th anniversary. Let's face it. It was just 3 episodes put in there to relaunch this new version. That's it. They weren't special. Nothing to do with Doctor Who's 60th at all. And then the Christmas Day episode, the way they've presented themselves is, oh, look at us, aren't we clever?
Yeah. And they're obviously trying to convince themselves that whatever they do is perfectly fine and excellent television.
Oh, yeah. Well, and now, allegedly, looking at figures. Oh, that's another show in itself when we look at the viewing figures. I tell you, Stephen is saying here, guy, the leaks say that Ruby will have a boyfriend and the boyfriend will fall in love with the Doctor. Plus, Shooty is meant to regen into the Valyard in season 3. The Valyard. There are certain characters we're never going to forget, and it's way before these kids were born. The Valyard, the Rani. You know, if we hang around, long enough, somebody might put in a good word for the Garm. Or the Borad.
As a dog lover, I'd love to see that again. Thank you.
Yeah, I want the Borad back. The petition starts now. The Borad, the Borad, the Borad. Yes, and if you don't know who that is,
the Borad was quite good characters. The rest of the story around it wasn't too great. So sorry if Phil's watching. Sorry, but
oh yeah, he won't like that. Gary's saying the Valyard being evil will be a straight white male. Totally. This is one of the other things as well with this. All we're going to get is villains, aren't we, in the next series, and they'll be representative to a point. That's all we're going to be getting there now. Now, something else that's come up as well that we want to talk about this, which is really pushing this whole thing that we want to talk about on Headlines tonight, is that it came to my notice just yesterday that there's a video gone out. Now, this was produced for TikTok, but of course it's ended up on everything else for a very weak-minded generation. And it's from Teen Vogue. Have you seen this, Who viewers? Now, I'm not going to show it you on here, A, because I was sick watching the thing, and B, because you may be aware that a lot of YouTubers are getting little letters through their email boxes saying, oi, cease and desist with showing clips. And it's one thing I've been very, very aware of since setting up the channel back in April. But what we've got here is we've got this thing from Teen Vogue. And I want to know what you all think about this, because this includes, people in the know, alleged influencers celebrating what Teen Vogue are celebrating is Trans Visibility Week. Now, for heaven's sake, every week is bloody Trans Visibility Week from what I can see, because I hear about it every single day on practically everything now. And it's like I've said before, on this channel, we don't know what to talk about this stuff, but they've put it into the show, so we're bloody well going to. So this Teen Vogue video celebrates Trans Visibility Week and includes Margaret Cho, Adam Lambert. I'm not going to put these in any order, so I'll just read them out. Margaret Cho, Adam Lambert, Dylan Mulvaney, that very well-known woman there on the left, please. Sarah McBride, Jazz Jennings, Elliot Page there on the right. The guy in the middle, the woman in the middle, do me a favor, is Alok Vade Menon. If you don't know who that is, well, how far can I go on this show saying who that is? How far can I go?
Can I just backtrack a bit? What is this newfangled TikTok thing you're talking about?
it's from China and it should be banned.
I see, okay. Yeah.
Because the Chinese...
You know nothing, middle-aged white man, you.
Exactly, that's it. That's what can I say?
It's this whole thing that, and the Chinese are laughing at us with all the stuff that goes on this, because it's usually involving some kid moaning about something in a car. No, look at me. Oh, they didn't validate me. Oh, piss off. So we've got all this here. We've also got other people on this as well. Where did we get up to? Yeah, we got up to Elliot Page, Alok Menon. We've got Chelsea Manning, Mindy Kaling, Jerick Roman Lamar Hoffer, who is there on the right. Now, Jerick Roman Lamar Hoffer is also known as Jinx Monsoon. So that's his drag name, Jinx Monsoon.
I thought I recognised him.
Yes, well, there he is on the right. Now, on these things, if you look at what they're saying as well, okay, this is what they're saying. Now, this is a very scripted video. So they're all saying the same thing, like those bloody god-awful songs that Hollywood were doing in the oh, do you remember them? In the 2020, and they were all going, blah, 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 blah. It's one of those crappy things, you know, where they're reading the same thing and it cuts to the next person, but they're all reading the same script.
Didn't they, that Lennon song? They did Imagine, and it sounded god-awful.
Yeah, he would have been rolling in his grave, I'll tell you, with that one, you know, and asking for royalty. But, you know, you've got all that sort of stuff coming through. But that's what they're doing, these people here. So they're all saying the same script. They're all talking about it in this video. Yes, Jerick Roman Lamar Hoffer, also known as Jinx Monsoon, he's the one that says, yeah, the right to use the correct bathroom. So you know where this is going straight away. And also, let me just say, because I have had this discussion with somebody who saw one of our videos, let me just point out, Jinx Monsoon is a character. That's what drag is about, people. It's a character. And the character of Jinx Monsoon is played by Jerick Roman Lamar Hoffer. Now, if he wants to go around and call himself Jinx Monsoon during the day, he can. That's up to him. But he's a drag queen. The name Jinx Monsoon is his drag act, right? That's the thing. So anyway, we've got that. But guess who turned up in this video, guys? Yes, it's the one and only Ncuti Gatwa. The hate ends here. We will reach those misguided.
It looks like he's had about half a gallon of Botox in his forehead between those two pictures, don't you think?
Yeah.
He certainly had something beforehand.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to get accused of everything now, of course, because we're criticizing this. But by God, I'm going to criticize this because this is one of those things. This is propaganda. This is total propaganda being aimed immediately at juveniles.
Yeah.
You are okay. You are validated. If you are trans, that's fine. These are children you're telling. And there's a lot of misconception. And that last line there that Gatwa says, now bearing in mind that he is our incumbent Doctor Who, he is the star of a family television show right now, that hate ends here. And we will reach those misguided, the script says, and he reads from the script, while on what looks like his dressing room set by filming Doctor Who. Did these people get paid for this? I mean,
he's simply on BBC Time while he's doing that, isn't he? But I mean, the first picture where he says the hate ends here. I mean, from what I see, most of the time the hate comes from that community. The TQIA cult, they're the ones that spew the hate because they can't cope with anybody that doesn't agree with the way they want the world to be. And as for the other one, that sounds very, I mentioned it last time, that sounds very 1930s Germany. If you
that's what worries me.
Yeah.
That's what's worrying me. Thank you for all your keep coming with your comments, everybody. I don't know if you've seen this, but keep coming with it. But that last one especially, we will reach those misguided. We will reach those misguided and we will tell them how they must think. That's what that's about, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, that's all this is. And on that point as well, just remember as well that if you are disturbed by this show in any particular way, that we do recommend special training which significantly support you in altering your viewpoint. Do remember that. You know, that's what it's all for. You can call this right now. Not. But I mean, guys, you saw the video for this. I mean, I was sick. Yeah. I was nearly sick. I nearly threw up my Weetabix when I watched this because I just thought, how many of these kids are listening? I mean, these people, do you really want these as role models for children? These very, very strange. I mean, look at Dylan Mulvaney, very famous now and loving every single minute because this narcissist has always wanted this attention. He is not transgender. He is a very, very disturbed gay man. You can go back and look at his appearances on the Americans' Price is Right and that. He hasn't changed. He faffs around, and right now he's insulting women with all this caricature of what and how he thinks a woman a woman acts. Oh, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's questionable who is misguided. It's not us.
Well, do you want these people as role models?
He's
No,
a
not at all.
parody of a woman, isn't he? He's just a parody of a woman.
Yes.
And you can't take him seriously. I mean, he ponces around in all the different female outfits or whatever, and yet, you know, he's in a swimsuit, and you know, you can see.
And he's earning millions, Ian.
Yeah, but he's struggling to tuck away his meat and two veg, and I can't take him seriously because I question his commitment.
Well, from what I can tell from some of the leotards, it's not that big anyway, to be quite honest.
No,
I'd certainly would throw it back.
I saw a video today of somebody who had metaphorically a lot more balls than Dylan Mulvaney because they'd actually had them lopped off. They'd gone through the transition surgery, and they were saying how they hated it. Their life was hell. And they didn't want to put themselves through the pain of transitioning back because they have to do dilation several times a week, going down to once a week for the rest of your life. But they're having a problem, so they're having to do it several times every day. Otherwise, it will seal up. And if it seals up, it will leave a void, which can cause infection and could kill them. And that the surgery,
it's irreversible, surely, isn't it? You can't go back.
Well,
that's the trouble.
They said they could have reversible surgery. What context that takes, you're not going to be back if you were. But they said that would cost them $70,000, and they didn't have that money anyway. But you know, you see this, but it's kept quiet by that sect because they don't want that kind of negative publicity. And the problem is, there will be, in a very short number of years from now, there will be a number of people that have been brainwashed to go through conversion therapy that just end up topping themselves because they feel no hope. And it's every person in that video, and everybody like them, including people like Russell Tough Davis. They're responsible. They've got blood on their hands for every person that goes through the transition and then ends up topping themselves.
Well, it's also the fact that we are now seeing, of course, the amount of detransitioners that are coming through, and that some of the stories that I see are heartbreaking. And the thing they've got in common is all these young people are basically saying they wish they hadn't done it, and they feel that they've been betrayed by the adults around them. And it does suggest that a lot of these people who think they're doing the right thing are actually the monsters, in a sense. Do you know what I mean? They're the ones that are bullying. And I just don't understand why this show business industry is pushing all this, you know, all this rhetoric that's coming through. It's frightening, Ian, as you say there. It really is. Garbage is saying in the chat, didn't RTD say the fight goes on? What fight? It's a question we're all asking ourselves. We don't know. We just don't know, because they've created the fight. You know, if
you're not allowed to ask any questions, or you can't have a debate about it. They'll just go just because. It's like a child. You know, you can't get a response from them at all.
Yeah. Gary's also saying, you will obey me, you misguided fools, and learn to live our utopian future. It's exactly that. And this is what frightens me, Gary, and everybody else. I get frightened by this because I see all this coming through a lot. And I see various charities I would have once have supported, like the aforementioned Stonewall, who I want nothing to do with now because they do not represent same-sex attracted people anymore, because it's all the TQI lot that are coming in now. That's where the money is. And I think this is what, gentlemen, it all boils down to at the end of the day. This is where the money is. But that video, I was actually very annoyed as well as sickened over that video, because all these people coming on basically telling these kids, you're all this, all the validation. Oh, you only want the right to use the right toilet. No, it's more than that, isn't it now? It really is more than that. Fantasy has taken over reality. There are two genders, male and female. That's it. And just because somebody feels something, it doesn't give them a right to go into a woman's space. And we are seeing stories coming out about that now. But that's what we're going to get. It's in Doctor Who. It's now in Doctor Who. It's in our favorite television show. I never thought I'd see the day.
Yeah, it's a sorry state now. It really is a sorry state. And I hope common sense will come around again. But I think as far as this program that we knew and loved, I think it'll come too late when it does.
Oh, I think the show we knew and loved, gentlemen and Hugh viewers, I think it's dead. I think it's
It is.
gone, and it's now a political propaganda platform for the extreme left-wing views, including this whole thing about talking and trying to get in front of the kids with this propaganda.
Yeah.
That's all it is. I think it was Paul that sent me the link of that clip on YouTube from the Doctor Who Unearthed. No, Doctor Who Unleashed show,
Yeah.
where Russell and Yasmin Finney are talking about that scene and why it's that was a little bit on the line as well, wasn't it? Oh, if we can get to the kids and show them this is normal. It's not. I mean, you don't do that. It's up to a parent to tell them that, not you in a science fiction show. That's up to them, because there is medical conditions around this as well, and they might just be gay. And there's a saying that there's a hashtag going around, as some of you in the chat will know, it's called Trans the Gay Away. I'm seeing evidence of that, and that frightens the life out of me, you homophobes. It really, really does. We've got all this. Peter is also saying, thanks for that, Jack. Peter's also saying here, I'd hate to be a kid today. Peter, imagine being a teacher at school. Sadly, though, the education is following the Stonewall protocols here, Galbage. So this is actually in the schools. This is in the education system. It's in our government. It's in a lot of our businesses. If you come out in support of LGB, or if you come out in support of women's rights, you're automatically transphobic. If you don't like the term, the Q word, that makes you an enemy as well. Trust me, I know about that one. Darren is saying here as well, you will be like us. It's ironic, isn't it, that's saying there. Yeah. Dylan Mulvaney has some very messed up friends. He's very messed up himself. He really is. I think most of these people are, Ian, that we're looking in there.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't do much for Bud Light, did he? How many millions did they lose? Funny as hell.
And yet they still get all this notoriety. Because they're all frightened of being called some sort of phobe or ist or ot. And that's all it's down to. They've got to be seen to be towing this massive cult party line, because they're terrified. And you're saying, Ian, that you hope common sense come back. The only way common sense is going to come back if we talk about this and we challenge them with common sense. And when they put it into shows like ours, they've got to say about
it down, which is why they want to shut it down with their ists and their phobes. Just like it used to be with you can't talk about immigration because you will just be labeled a racist, to shut people down because they didn't want that debate. And now they don't want this, because we know full well that they're such snowflakes, thin-skinned, that they can't cope with debate. They aren't able to debate. So they want to shut it down because they know full well it all falls apart. And it does. It all falls apart. They can't justify what they're doing. They couldn't argue the point at all.
Well, one day, I mean, there's a lot of people that I see talking about this who are far more specialized. I can only speak from my interpretation of all this and my real life experiences of what's going on here. And the homophobia I am now receiving from the TQI cult, which takes me right back to the 80s and the 90s, and why I'm fighting it all again at the age I'm at now. It's ridiculous. But there's a whole element there who are actually saying at some point in the future, this will all come out as a sham. And I hope so. And I hope it's free, because I do wonder about all these kids that are going down this path. Because when you see the stories of the ones that are coming back saying, I shouldn't have done this. And that's heartbreaking. And they're trying to make this like in that thing from Unleashed. If we show this is normal, then there's no conversation. There has to be a conversation. There must be a conversation, you idiots. You must not be shutting people down. You must, we've had some comments from our last show on here as well, where we've been called all sorts of things as well. Bring it on. All views welcome. Bring it on. Because that's fine. But it shows you about how judgmental these be kind people are, or these tolerant people are. And here's an example of it here. Hello, and thank you to Clud Nugget. It will have been a focus group exactly like them, and they've all had the same opinion, said one conservative middle-aged white man to the two other conservative middle-aged white men, who both nodded in agreement. Now, this shows brilliantly, and I showed this to both Dr. Ian and Paul recently. This is from our YouTube, one of our YouTube shows. I think it was the one we did the other day, really. But this shows just how judgmental certain people can be. So, Club Nugget, if you're watching, hello, thank you for the comment. Don't forget to subscribe.
Well, I mean,
it's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing.
So he's ageist. White, so he's racist, and conservative. have they assumed our politics? I don't know.
Yes, they have. But this is what happens all the time.
It's a joke, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what color our skin is, how old we are. If we are middle-aged, then we've worked a lot longer than Fuck Nugget has. We've contributed more in our taxes than what Fuck Nugget has, and we've followed this program and supported this program. And like we said last time, with all the merch, really financially supported this program way more than Fuck Nugget has. And we are entitled to an opinion. Whether
but it's not just that. It's not just that. If you look at this as well, I get this a lot, and this amuses me, where everybody just assumes you're conservative. Why are these people? Why are these people frightened of the Conservative Party in the United Kingdom? Why are they frightened of this? I mean, I don't care if you call me a conservative. If that's trying to be an insult, it's not working. And I'll tell you why, Clud Nugget, and anyone else that wants to do that. I've never voted Tory in my life.
Neither have I. That's what I'm going to say. I've never been a Tory in my life.
No. But as a mate of mine said to me recently, we didn't leave the left. The left left us, and that's absolutely true. And from my point of view here, I do have friends that vote Tory. I've never cared because I understand how democracy works, and how democracy works is when there's a general election in the United Kingdom, it is your duty, should you wish to vote the way you think and for the party you think will run the country you live in correctly. That's freedom of choice. That's democracy. And this ties in as well to those rants from you know who at award ceremonies a couple of years ago, and he was going off and off and off about, if you vote Tory, you're a murderer. Oh, do yourself a favor and zip it, because that's not what democracy is about. Those people voted for a party they thought would lead the country correctly. That's their right. But I'll tell you something right now, Clud Nugget and anyone else, there's only one political party in the United Kingdom that can answer one simple question, and that simple question is, what is a woman? And it happens to be the Tory party that can answer it. So where does that put you? How dare you? It's ridiculous. But that is truth, because the rest of them are terrified of people like you and the allegations and the cries of ist and phobe and bigot. Nonsense. We're a democracy, and some people still have common sense. And we know women are women. That's
Absolutely.
it. That's it. So, but thank you very much for your comments. If you come back and see us, I hope you stay with us.
Debate. We're not scared. Debate. Reasoned, adult, grown up, middle-aged. We'll quite happily debate. We're not scared.
Well, we were taught in the art of debate, and we were also taught to respect other people's opinion and to agree to disagree. That art is now gone, because we've got an entire generation and some people from our own generations that should know better, not wanting that and wanting closed down. And the way they close you down is by hurling abuse at you and calling you names, because they think that's going to frighten them off. It doesn't work anymore, because we all know that a blade of grass can be transphobic these days. We know that. So it doesn't work anymore. We all know everybody's racist. We know that. So it doesn't work anymore. So you have to find something else. And you can't shut us down, because we're still clinging by a thread to the fact that the United Kingdom is a democracy.
What's that expression? Sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Is that the expression?
Yeah, it's one of those famous expressions, isn't it? But they won't know that. And then it's probably problematic, to be honest, to say something about breaking bones or something. I just want to remind Jack is saying here, I think the show needs a classic Who merchandise show and tell intermission to cheer us all up. Go and look at the merchandise paradise place. Go and look at the merchandise paradise playlist there, because we've got lots of things on the channel here for you, because this is just one of our shows. This is our political show, if you like, here at Headlines. As I say, we don't want to talk about this stuff, but they bring it in, and so by God, we're going to have to. Peter Harrington is saying here, I'm sure big pharma surgeons, etc., make a shed load of money out of this. It's all bloody travesty. Surgicals and all that. Ecstatic Brick, hello to you. I love your little picture there as well. I've been told I'm not a true fan because I hate the changes. I own every classic Who, new Who, DVD, Blu-ray, Big Chief figures. Oh, I'm sorry to hear about Big Chief then. If you had any on order, I was sorry that they've gone down. Big Finish discs and loads of other memorabilia. What do they own? Absolutely. Don't let anybody tell you you're not a true fan, and you're very welcome here. Please subscribe and please join us on all our shows, because we are true fans. And the reason we talk about this stuff is because we are true fans. We're not going to be shut down by people, and we shouldn't be. by people saying you're not a fan. Of course you're a fan. I know the Star Wars fans are getting that at the moment. Don't listen to them. Voice your opinions. You are a fan. And as fans, as I've said before, we should be speaking about our show, the good and the bad. That's what being a fan is all about.
Absolutely.
Ridiculous.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gary is saying to us, let's be honest, Doctor Who died with the 96 movie. I relate to that completely every day, more and more now. We should have just left it there, shouldn't we?
Just carried on in the books.
Yeah. That would have made good content for us, though. Is he on this page here?
I think Dimension in Time killed it for me, to be fair.
Mentioned it again. I don't like it. Point of personal privilege, says Jack. What are the panel's pronouns, by the way, just so we all know and can feel safe? How dare you, Jack? Yes, we don't stoop that low here. Ecstatic Breaker back again saying, I hate all politicians equally. Don't we all right now? I'm politically homeless these days. I don't know about you lot.
Yeah, me too.
They're all bloody useless. And because the wokeness has got into much of them as well, you just think, my God, what are they doing? Have you seen some of the people in Westminster? They'll bend the knee for anything, won't they, for Christ's sake? Mrs. Merton, God love her, says Pete, let's have a mass debate. That's what's needed, though. And because they wanted to shut us down with this thing.
That will leave tension, certainly.
Yeah, and we've got various people in show business, as we've seen through Doctor Who, including the production team and the leads that have been in it. They won't do that. They'd rather call their fan base names.
Yeah.
So mature. Absolutely so mature with this. Only the correct opinions are allowed, says Babia. What are you saying, Ian?
They're very short-sighted. That always comes back to bite them.
Yeah.
You attack your fan base in anything, not just a TV program. You attack your fan base. A football club, if it attacks its fan base, it never ends well. It never ever ends well, and you just should not do it. And they should realise that. But for some reason,
they're just blind to it. I mean, nobody. Let's use the example recently that you've just given us of Bud Light. They all turn a blind eye to that. Now, that should be a warning sign. Disney is going down the toilet and it's pushing forward. It's going on. It's carrying on because we're all wrong. The world is wrong and they are right. This is what a college or university education get trouble can make you. I tell you, get a bloody job. Don't go to university. Get a job. Right. Gary's saying here, bet RTD gets involved in the general election campaigning. Well,
Tennant's quite lefty and political, isn't he? So
not that any of us have noticed. Mr. Brian LL, you're very naughty. And Jack again is saying, real Doctor Who lives on those shelves behind our panel. 3 awesome collections there. I think most of us will have some collections as well, and that's why I'm saying, don't let anybody tell you're a fan. Even if you're not towing the part, this horrible line that they're very, very, it's been there since 2017 now. But you're all welcome on this show. As I say, don't listen to them. You've got to have an opinion. You are a fan. It's your duty. So let's get back into this, guys, as well. This was horrifying for me, this video here as well. Our leading man, the hate hens here. We will reach those misguided. The more I get to know and read about this guy, the more I don't like him.
Did you just misgender him?
I have no idea. And quite frankly, I wouldn't care. Because I use my eyes, Ian. Use my eyes.
Well, people do, to be fair, don't they? And
yeah. But you know what? You would never have got any of the original Doctors doing anything like that. Not that this topic would have been around then, of course, but you wouldn't have got any political, and you didn't get any political opinion. They knew the responsibility of that character. How is that allowed under the BBC's impartiality?
Well, it's not just about politics. I mean, just your what you represent and what you show as a person. Remember Tom not smoking and drinking, that's what you did. You were a kind of a hero for a family, for kids. You want to show a kind of whiter than white image, so you're not kind of showing to be affiliated with any party or a drinker or a smoker or anything at all. You were pure. You were a real person.
This is where we're at now in the 21st century Doctor Who. When you actually look at it, everybody, you could see this coming in 2005. Maybe Mr. Eccleston actually did know something. Maybe he saw something on the wall, and maybe that's why he actually left the show. One day we will know. But I wonder what he would do about it.
Sack Russell T Davies, sack Jane Tranter, sack Phil Collinson, sack Julie Gardner, and I'll come back.
That's what he would do about it. I'm inclined to agree with him. What about you lot?
Well,
Sounds
yeah, there's
like
a little
reasonable
thing sitting on
terms.
his shoulder, wasn't there?
Yeah. Oh, goodness me. Well, I don't know. This is where we seem to be going with this. This is what we've got going. There is a lot more, I think, that's on the way for us. And this is what this particular part of Who's Views is all about. This is Headlines. We're coming to the end of the show. I want to say thank you to everybody that was in the chat and has been here. Thank you so much for all your comments. Absolutely wonderful. I don't know. Thank you so much for your support with this. Thank you for your comments. All views are welcome. I can't stress that enough. You know, and even though we've been called just the three white fellas of middle age that are talking about this, we've also got our live stream. Everybody's welcome here on this particular show and on the channel as well. So thank you so much for your support. I want to say thank you to Paul and thank you to Third Doctor Ian as well for, as ever, joining. The chat is still going on here. Thank you very much. But we are coming to the end of the show. Join us again. If you are new to us and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Please like the video. And yes, get ready for the next one that we drop when they do deliver another headline from us here at the moment on Who's Views. Thank you so much for joining us. As I say, we will see you again very, very soon, I'm sure. Won't we, guys?
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully, yes. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.